Hi, welcome to Artsy Partswork, where I attempt to help you unpack your dream. So, I have a dreamer who submitted a dream. I'm going to remove the names and identifying features or characters so that it stays anonymous. But this is just my attempt at coming at your dream from a different perspective and telling you this is what I noticed. Are these some of the same things you noticed? And it's an opportunity for us to get curious and to try and determine what your dream language is, and your system is going to come up with symbols and metaphors for you that are unique to your experiences and your past. And so just kind of being aware of them and noticing them over time, the process gets a little bit more refined, and your parts realize, your internal parts realize, oh, she gets it. When we do this in a dream, she knows it means this. Um, and so that's kind of the process we're starting here as we engage in looking at and unpacking and getting curious about dreams. So the process I use is internal family systems. And it's not like internal family systems has this guide on interpreting dreams. This is just something I've come up with on my own because it's been helpful for me as I do parts work. So, in short, the process is I use the dreams to figure out what my emotions are and what my parts are feeling. Um, I feel like they express themselves more freely and vulnerably. They're uninhibited by my mind that's, overactive when I'm awake and analyzing things and planning things. But when I dream, I feel like the characters show up as my internal parts in my dream, and they communicate how they feel and help me identify my emotions so that when I wake up, I can say, oh, is there a waking life situation that is similar to this? And my parts are being triggered or reminded of these feelings. This is their way of telling me this is how they're feeling. And sometimes it lines up, sometimes it doesn't. But it's my attempt at connecting with them and understanding them and listening to their needs. And they know that dreams are on the table. They're available for a way to connect with me and get my attention. They don't always have to show up as a migraine or a bodily, pain to get my attention. And I invite them to speak to me in my dreams instead. So, without further ado, let's begin. So, the dream I'm going to read in the language of the dreamer first, and then I'll give my paraphrase. And I'm going to abbreviate the names with the letter of the name. M is coming to visit. She brings three kites with her and her two boys. I've told her that I have a place that we can fly them, and it's near a tree. Um, and for some reason, this specific kind of tree is important. And all the trees around my house are palm trees. So I suggest that we go to this other tree by the beach. But she doesn't really want to go to the beach because then the boys are going to be tempted to go into the water, and she doesn't want them to get all sandy. So I visit with my daughter about what other alternative parks could we go to, and she suggested we go to Balboa Park. Um, it's nice and it's free and it's large, but I remember that it's crowded because there's lots of rec sports and free concerts, and there's lots of crowds. And so we decide in the end to go to a smaller park nearby instead. And we end up playing on the swings and not even flying the kites. And I noticed that my friend's baby is about to fall off of the swing, and he's holding tightly. And as the swing swings, and I go and rescue and catch him just in time before he falls. And I hand him to his mom, and he's wearing a yellow bow in his hair that makes him look like a girl. And then I question myself, didn't she have a boy? Why is it dressed like a girl? And so I just call him baby instead. She pulls out, oh, yeah, she pulls out her boob to nurse him, even though he's not crying. But he's talking a lot and asking a lot of questions. I notice that her nipple is long and pointy, and I wonder how will it fit in his mouth? And as she's holding him and cradling him with one arm and fixing her bra with the other hand, he's excitedly wiggling in anticipation, and it looks like he might fall again. And I offer to help, and I hold her arm steady and I say, "You have to be strong to do this, don't you?" And she agrees. Okay, here's my much abbreviated version. If you need to pause and write down something, feel free to pause the video. Sometimes hearing your own dream in your own language feels a little bit weird. And maybe you thought that you wrote it one way and I read it a different way, just even my tone or sentence structure, or you realize in the listening, wait, there was much more to that. I know what kind of tree it was that we were seeking, or there was another character I forgot to even write in the dream. So please, by all means, add all that into your notes for reflection later, and you know, don't skip over those parts. So here's my paraphrased part or rendering of your dream. I'm doing it a little bit different, just following my intuition here on this one. Normally, I follow it a little bit more detailed, but this time I felt like being general was a little bit more helpful. So um, this is what I wrote. Is there a waking life situation where you are planning to get together or planning an event and the logistics aren't working out? Can you look at the goals of everyone and be realistic about the time constraints, the agendas on the list, and get clear on who it's for? Now, we're going to unpack this a little bit more, and hopefully um, you get a little bit more clarity on whether this fits or not. I could have taken it in a direction that it's not intended to go based on what your waking life situations are. So that's again where the dreamer is the best interpreter of the dream. I'm just saying this is kind of what became aware to me as I was reading it. So here's some actions that I wrote down just step by step right before I did this step of writing the summary. I said, what are the main actions of this dream? Well, first, they're planning a get together, a gathering. Second, they're deciding on a location. Third, they have in mind what they want to do, but they ended up doing something different. They wanted to fly the kites. They ended up swinging on the swing set. And the last action of the dream was nursing, or another way to say it is pacifying someone. And the reason I use that word pacify is because I thought of um, the description of the nursing baby and how it wasn't crying, it was just talking, and this was the mom's way of shutting up the baby. It was like, just be quiet. I'm too overwhelmed. We can't answer your questions right now, and this will fill your mouth and you will not be able to talk. So it was used as a pacifier to keep them quiet. So those were the actions. The characters I wrote, character number one, M, was the mom of the two children, and her emotions. I'm just going to list out the emotions of each of the characters in case these are internal parts that are expressing their emotions to you in some, um, what's the word I'm looking for, in some symbolic manner. So the mom had an agenda. She was excited to fly a kite. She was worried about the extra work of being at the ocean and getting the kids, keeping the kids safe and out of the sand. Um, she was unaware of the baby that was falling off of the swing, distracted. She was overwhelmed, which is why she nursed to distract the youngest child. Um, the other thing I just I'm thinking of now that I didn't have written down was the whole thing about the yellow bow in the baby's hair and not being sure, is it a boy or is it a girl? Perhaps the mom felt like she wanted the baby to be different than it was. It was a boy, she wanted a girl. Wanted it to look or be different. Okay. Then there was the dreamer's character in the dream, the host of the get together. Um, was excited because the friend was coming and bringing kites, and they're like, oh yeah, I know how to fly kites. I want to fly kites, and I have a place that I go to fly kites. So excited. Also worried the trees in, her yard weren't suitable. They were going to pop the palm trees. Maybe we're going to, you know, was going to say pop the kite, but you don't pop a kite, you pop a balloon, but it would be bad, which is also interesting that, trees in general are not something you want to fly a kite by. So the whole plan of going to this destination to do this thing was not a good idea. You want to fly a kite in an open area where there are no trees. um, so that could have some significance. The dreamer was also afraid when she saw the baby falling off of the swing and ran to rescue it. She was also worried watching the mom almost drop the baby as she was getting ready to nurse it and wanting to, offer to support and help. The dreamer was surprised when she saw the length of the nipple and um, curious about the baby. Is it a boy? Is it a girl? And you could say curious, you could say doubtful, you could say confused. Any of those words or emotions would be applicable. You, the dreamer, again, would um, be able to identify that better because you'll remember the dream and how you really felt. Um, and then there were the two children as characters. Child number one was, you didn't say what age, but I'm imagining a toddler. But, if there was a toddler and a baby, it could have been a child of a different age. So that may be significant. But this child was quiet, it was compliant, wasn't a major character in the dream. And then there was child number two, the baby, who was a boy dressed with a yellow bow in its hair, very talkative, and the one that was in danger of falling. So the feelings I said of that baby was it wasn't a complainer. Um, it was talkative. Does that mean it was a know-it-all? Was it like trying to steal the show or give you facts? What was it? Do you remember what was it talking about? Um, the other emotion was that as it was about to be nursed, it was very excited. It was wiggling in anticipation and excitement, like, I'm gonna get fed. Perhaps it was scared when it was about to fall off of the swing. Do you remember that as it was holding on to the swing and the dreamer, came to rescue it? Was there an emotion attached to that? Was it having fun or was it scared it was going to fall and get hurt? Um, and again, when it was falling and when it was wiggling in its mom's arm, the way I see that in my mind's eye is that it wasn't afraid of falling. It knew its mom was holding it and not going to drop him, and um, was solely focused on being fed. So those emotions tied with the actions of, gathering together, deciding a location for an event, um, and how the event actually happened differently than how everybody imagined it. That there could be some symbolism to a waking life situation that could be applicable. So it will, if so, that will help you ask the right questions. Are we planning this appropriately? Who's this trip or event really for? And are we doing things and planning things just to make someone, quiet down, or stop complaining, or stop talking, or stop asking? um, and oh, I know what I wanted to do. I wanted to talk about some of the symbols. So the palm tree, I did a quick Google search, and you can do this on your own, see where the rabbit trail leads. But what's the meaning of a palm tree? A lot of people, that's, kind of a tropical um, idea or destination for a vacation. It seems, pineapples and palm trees and coconuts and, those kind of things allude to vacations and um, abundance sometimes, and relaxation. So also the other thing it brought up was heroes and victory, like people waving palm trees historically, palm leaves. That was a way of, honoring a hero or a victor in a game. So maybe that has some significance. The other thing about the yellow hair bow, when I Googled that, it said it could be symbolic for support of overseas troops. So, the palm trees, the supportive troops, that could have some significance of honoring a hero or remembering a hero. Um, what I thought about, though, when I thought about the yellow bow tie, to me, that was symbolic of gender neutral. Like, it was a boy, but was it a girl? And yellow, typically, pink is for girls and blue is for boys in the United States anyway. And yellow is for gender neutral. And so perhaps there's significance there about this part of you that is feeling gender neutral. It's not identifying with the masculine, it's not super identifying with the feminine. Um, and I don't know, for whatever reason, my mind went to organs in the system, and how the brain, to me, and this is my dream language coming through, and yours will be different, but to me, the brain is symbolic for the masculine. It's the thinker, the planner, the protector part, or the skeletal system could be masculine for me. It's the support system. And then the feminine is like the heart and the emotions, and the female organs that are soft and receptive. And so when I think about, well, what body part would be gender neutral, my mind went to the lungs. It's breathing, and it's supporting both the feminine and the masculine. And there probably is a part of you that does support both. When we have polarized parts, sometimes they show up as masculine, feminine. This one wants to feel, this one wants to think. And then they war with each other on who gets to do what. And harmony and balance and the magic, I say, is what happens when the two can work together, and they can see each other's needs and desires, and meet them both, complement them, and support each other in a common goal. So there probably is, like, um, a gender neutral part of you. Maybe it's the self, capital S self, that higher divine part of you, that is home for the self-led energy. When you have all the 8 C's and 5 P's of internal family system, lit up and working together. That's like your core ideal true self manifesting. It would be gender neutral. And so, anyway, those are some things to think about. Let me look at my notes here real quick and see if there was anything else to add. Um, I guess just as a journal prompt, you could just explore first things that come up when you think about this dream and listen to my my interpretation of it. As soon as the video or audio is done, I would say free write, just automatic write, whatever comes to mind. Don't edit it. Don't stop to think and ponder and reflect. Just keep writing, continuously and see what comes up from your intuition and from your inner wisdom. Ask a lot of questions and try and just see things from different perspectives. You might take each character and separately look at the dream from their perspective. If you went through the whole dream again from the perspective of the youngest child, the baby, what would their perception of the story, what would their version of the story be? And do it for each character. And you'll be intrigued, I think, to see what kind of different questions come up from each different perspective. So I hope that was helpful and good luck with interpreting your dream. Thank you for inviting me into the process. I really enjoy it.